Thursday, Jim Harbaugh, the news came down yesterday, getting a 5-year deal with the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I even feel weird saying that. It is supposed to be the San Diego Chargers. I know they're in L.A. You know, a lot of people are questioning the move. This is the easiest move ever. And I just want you to think about this move from this standpoint. Look, you're a college coach, first and foremost, which means you got to recruit. Let's just take all the cheating out. You got NIL. You got to recruit your own players. You got coaches that have agents. You got all this kind of crap. It's basically running a professional organization, except it's a college organization under the rules, somewhat rules of the NCAA and your institution. Now, that's pain in the backside to begin with. Now, he's got a lot of guys leaving, and he wasn't very successful against Ohio State until Connor Stallion showed up. In fact, unsuccessful enough that he was, follow me here, successful in getting the 2020 Michigan-Ohio State game canceled because he said too many had COVID. He was getting ready to get his ass waxed again. So just take that part of it. Then take that he's going to make somewhere between $12 to $15 million coaching in the NFL. It's a better lifestyle. Put that in there. Now put in, hey, look, I don't need the headache of Michigan-Ohio State. I don't need my self-worth coming out of the outcome of one game. I don't need to have my salary cut, my assistants cut, my endorsements cut like he had a couple years ago because he kept losing to Ohio State. I don't need that in my life anymore. And let's just take this for what it is. 60 years old. I'm 60 years old. You're tired of the cold. You're tired of going, oh, man. Last time I was in Ann Arbor, there was a vortex. It was 23 degrees below zero. It was a couple, 3 years ago. We were doing a Michigan game. School was canceled. Emergency, medical emergency, all this kind of stuff. It was 23 degrees below zero. Now, I don't know about you, but it's not going to be always 70 and sunny in California, in L.A., but most days it is. I tell you what it's also not going to be. It ain't going to be 23 degrees below zero, people. So all those reasons. Now let's add the cheating into it. So you go into a season and everybody, again, it all gets clouded because of the national championship, and rightfully so. He gave Michigan and Michigan men everywhere exactly what they wanted. Beat Ohio State a couple times in a row. Don't make it one time in a fluke. Bring us a national championship that we hadn't had since Lloyd Carr. I know I say this all the time, and I know a lot of you don't believe it, but you can look it up. Bo Schembechler never won a national title. Not once. Zero. Zip. Nada. So do something that's never been done, undefeated, national champion, and then move along. But you do it under a cloud. And the NCAA and the Big Ten and even his own school at a certain level are pissed at him. Because remember, this is the weirdest, this is something nobody's going to talk to you about. The school suspended him. The school. Now, I was at Indiana a couple times when Bob Knight got suspended. One time he got suspended for throwing a chair on the floor. One time he got suspended for kicking his kid. He did kick his kid. And he did get suspended. And he was pissed because the school suspended him. I remember him saying, I was in those meetings, hey, Big Ten wants to suspend me, NCAA wants to suspend me, fine, but I'm not taking it from you people. Well, guess what? The school stood up. The school gave him a suspension, 2 of them. He took it from those people, and it lingered forever. And don't think for a second, yes, Jim Harbaugh, Michigan man. Yes, Jim Harbaugh holding the trophy. Yes, Jim Harbaugh brought him a championship. But don't think for a second that the fact that the school suspended him isn't the worst thing that happened to him this year. Big Ten, NCAA, that's not good when or if they suspend you. Big Ten has already suspended him. Remember, they went into a meeting. They thought they were going to get out of all of this. Next thing you know, half hour later, everybody agreed to the suspension. They saw new evidence, which meant he was a bigger cheater than they thought, and they said, let's go. You can handle that as a coach. You can. You can handle that. But you cannot handle it from your institution. And that is a major reason that this was a no-brainer. Look, of course, if you're going to go into the NFL, what do you want? You want a quarterback. Nobody knows the game. Nobody knows how to win the game like Jim Harbaugh, particularly in the NFL and in college. You got to have a quarterback. Look, all of a sudden this year, was there any McNamara or whatever that kid's name is, competition with J.J. McCarthy? No, there was no competition. There was a quarterback. His name was J.J. He led him to an undefeated season. He's being called the greatest quarterback in Michigan football history, rightfully so for what he accomplished at Michigan. He got his quarterback and didn't even jack around with it. Remember, a couple years ago, it was a quarterback competition. It was, who's it going to be? Is it going to be this McNamara guy who ended up transferring to Iowa or McCarthy? So now you go to the NFL and it's the same thing. There is no quarterback question with, I was going to say it again, the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers. You've got the perfect scenario for Jim Harbaugh. You've got a talented roster. And by everybody, the roster's uber talented. Tom Telesco, who built the roster, is so respected for the roster that he built that he just got a new general manager's job after being fired for the job that he did in San Diego. I want to say that again. That's how respected the roster is in San Diego, in Los Angeles. That's how respected it is. So you go to a place that has a roster. You go to a place that has a quarterback. You go to a place where there's sunshine. You go to a place where you don't have to jack around with problems like the NCAA, like raising money for NIL, like a problem like Ohio State, who apparently has figured out how to raid Alabama and jump up into NIL money. You don't have to worry about that anymore, and you got a quarterback and you got a roster. It's a pretty good way to go. It's a pretty good way to fly. It's a pretty good way to go about the business of being Jim Harbaugh. I mean, that's the bottom line. Once I saw that the school suspended Harbaugh, not the Big Ten, not whatever's coming, yes, no, maybe from the NCAA, I knew this was over for Harbaugh in Michigan. I think we told you that. It's simple. Nothing happens in a bubble. These are personal relationships, a coach with an athletic director, a coach, an athletic director, a president. They're personal relationships. You know, sometimes there's a sport coordinator, which means there's an assistant athletic director who is the liaison between the athletic director and the head coach. That doesn't really happen at a place like Indiana basketball, Michigan football, Duke, Ohio State football. You're pretty much, you and the AD are tied together. The AD comes out of this looking pretty good too, because he's the guy that said, look, I got a contract on his desk. And I think that everybody, maybe for the first time ever, everybody understands why Harbaugh left and why Michigan probably isn't that mad to see him go. Now, what happens next? We all say that, oh man, Harbaugh left. And you know what you do before you go to bed? You say, okay, who's the next coach? Sharon Moore's got to be the next coach. I texted with Urban last night. I said, hey man, we going to Michigan? Let's go. Let's go. I want to be the sideline coach. Get back. Hey, the get back coach. Back, get back. I want my own office away from everybody else. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear from the head coach or the assistant. I'm the get-back coach. I'm the game day man, but I don't want to hear it. Anybody got a problem with me? Put it in a box. His answer was no. We're not going. Damn it. I want to go stand on those sidelines. My son went to Michigan. I paid a lot of money. I'm de facto a Michigan man now that the cheating is done. But you got to hire Sharon Moore. Look, if you can get Brian Kelly, that'd be hard to say no to, but you got to hire Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore fits every box, not because he's African American and young. That does fit the boxes. But the dude handled himself unbelievable as the associate or the interim head coach. He was terrific. Now, he had an advantage because Harbaugh was with the team, and it wasn't like interim coach. Like when I was the interim coach at Indiana, I was the enemy to the players because that's just the way it worked out. But as the head coach, when the head coach could be there, there is not an enemy of the players. So just go hire Sharon Moore, get the thing going, get yourself some NIL money, and see what the hell happens. All right, let me get into something here. Harbaugh is not allowed to play the victim, and neither is Travis Kelce. Would you all agree with me? I mean, raise your hands. Is Travis Kelce allowed to play the victim? I mean, let's just encapsulate this here, and I'm going to explain what he's doing as a victim. You're on the best team. Okay, your team's really good. Super Bowl champs, driving to another Super Bowl. Will you get there? I don't know, but it's, you're there. You're the best tight end in football. You're dating the hottest pop star in America, in the world. I mean, if you're going to say who's the hottest entertainer, I'm not that big anymore because I don't get People Magazine anymore. I used to love People Magazine for the crossword puzzles. I digress. But if I'm going to say to you, who is the number one pop star in the country, in the world, you'd probably say Taylor Swift, no? So you're dating Taylor Swift, all right? Your brother, big old guy, great dude, seems like, Jason Kelce, is ripping his shirt off in a suite, chugging beers, jumping out of the suite, kissing babies literally, hanging with fans, and this is all on the road. This is all in Buffalo. And Travis Kelce has the cojones to say this. He played the victim. There's a lot of hate pulling up to that stadium. Good. Understandably, it's a football game. Did it get a little disrespectful? 1,000%. See, here's the thing. There are certain things that you can just say in this world. You can say verbal abuse. He was verbally abusive to me. Oh, that coach verbally abused me. Oh, shut up. Just shut up with that. The other thing is you can use the word disrespectful. You can always say disrespectful. He was disrespectful. What does that mean? Well, they said, what? It's a football game. You said it yourself. Disrespectful can be used to encompass everything. Well, can you believe they were disrespectful? Well, I mean, look at you. You're looking like a slap here. Of course they're disrespectful to you. I'm not going to say what because that's what they want. I'm not going to say what they said, okay, because that's what they want. I'm not going to relay it. Some things were said about the family. Some pretty inappropriate things were said about Patrick. It was pretty whack. Really? I mean, you don't think? Look, outside of dropping a racial slur, I got to tell you, I hate to say this, but in football, it seems like we want to embrace, support, enhance, Bills Mafia, wacky guy outside screaming at the team. I mean, look, racial slurs off limits. And if you give a racial slur, you got to just be kicked out of stadium, banned, and let's not do it. But I'm taking that out. Unless they gave Patrick a racial slur, what do you expect them to do when you're coming in with your whole sideshow? The sideshow of Taylor Swift, the sideshow of your brother, ripping off his shirt, jumping into the crowd, acting like the Incredible Hulk. What do you think? On the road, everybody's just going to go, yay. Oh, look at Travis. Oh, no. What's wrong with you? Don't complain. You enhanced it. You wanted it. You did it. And now all of a sudden you're a victim? You're a victim. All right. Well, here's our guy Clay Travis reacting to a potential Super Bowl with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Let's hear from our leader. Baltimore has to beat the Chiefs. I can't handle Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce coverage for 2 weeks at the Super Bowl. I'm going to say what our boss Gary says. It's gotten my daughter, like it did Gary's daughter, like it has Aaron's daughter, to talk about football with her dad. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. That's something I can get down with. My daughter Laura sending me clips from New Heights, the podcast that the Kelces do, is awesome. Me sending my daughter clips of the Kelce brothers jumping, or the Kelce brother, Jason, jumping out of the suite has bound us together. It has. And as you get older and your kids move away, you're looking for things to bind yourself to them. because now they're working their own lives. Now they're doing their deal. My son's coaching, man. It's like I told him the other day, what are you doing? You don't call your dad back? What, you got burner phones? What are you doing? And he started laughing. He goes, Dad, you remember? I'm here at 7 in the morning. I get home at 10 at night. What the hell? We're working here. It's middle of the season. I'm like, So you want a connection. I want more Kelce and Swift. I want more content. I'm in love with the love story. But I got to ask a question. Who the hell are all these people around Taylor Swift all the time? Like, I don't know who these people are. I think bottom left is Kelce's wife or Kelce's mother. I think to Taylor Swift's left here, it looks like maybe that's one of the wives, maybe Mahomes' wife. I don't know. But Taylor Swift always walks in with a bunch of people. Like one of our guys, I think it was Chuck, said, hey, man, I want to go to an IU game with you and just film you with interacting with the people. I'm like, dude, I played there 100 years ago. I don't have people. I go to an IU game. I mean, people are awesome. I guess maybe there would be. People come up for, not autographs, pictures, things like that. That's cool. But I go with my wife, stand in line at will call to get our tickets, and then I go to my seat. But these dudes, man, you haven't made it until you got a bunch of dudes. And you haven't made it until I haven't made it until I get some little white dude that does everything for me. First little white dude that I saw do everything for was Shaq. Shaq, when we were filming Blue Chips, I don't know what year it was, whatever year it was, 90, whatever. Shaq had a little white dude. I go, what's he do? He goes, he does everything for Shaq. I go, what's that mean? He goes, he does everything. Whatever Shaq needs done, he does. I'm like, okay. I just want a little white dude to hang around. I just want a little white dude to be my Shaq little white guy. I think it'd be all right. Hey, this is weird story. This is just weird story, weird story, weird story. So Tyreek Hill, he of many babies, he of some, I don't know, is he married, is he not? Let me explain. Tyreek Hill, we're going to show you a timeline here. He filed for divorce from Keita Vaccaro 76 days after they got married, according to a court document. But Tyreek Hill denies it and says they are happily married. November 8th, Tyreek Hill marries Keita Vaccaro in Austin, Texas. Okay. December 20th, listen to this one. These are the morals that we're all supposed to follow. December 20th, Tyreek has third child with another woman, as two other baby mamas file paternity suits. How about this one? January 3rd, massive fire destroys his house. Huh? Massive fire destroys a house in Southwest Ranches, Florida? See, here's why I get suspicious about this, okay? Where I live here, when I saw that fire destroy his house, there are two fires in the sporting world that were kind of during, I don't know, when I was younger and the same age as the guys that happened. Andre Rison's wife was a pop star, Left Eye or whatever the hell her name was, in some woman group that was really popular, TLC. Apparently, she got pissed, burned his house down. Reggie Miller lived on the lake that I live on. In fact, Reggie's first house is up and around, not very far from here. Beautiful house. There are different kind of houses on this lake. I live in an okay house. I'm the lower end, but Paul George on the other side of the lake, it's a different world. So Reggie was living right here. Reggie built a house in Hamilton County, which is still on the lake, but across. That's where the big houses is. And guess what happened? I think this is proven, but I'm going to say alleged. Allegedly, Reggie Miller's wife burnt the shack down. So let's go back to the timeline real quick. So when I see a timeline that involves baby mama drama, wedding yes, wedding no, babies by other women, and then a house burnt down, forgive me if I don't hearken, yes, we're hearkening today, if I don't hearken back to Reggie Miller getting the shack burnt down here right on this lake, right outside, it's on the other side of the lake, but it was on this lake. In fact, it's kind of a tourist attraction. Yeah, that's Reggie's old house. Yeah, the house that got burnt down, that's over there. I'll show you if we go on a boat. So we got a fire on the 3rd. 22nd, public records indicate that Tyreek Hill filed for divorce from Keita. 23rd, Tyreek Hill says, no, didn't do it. Nuh-uh. We did not file for divorce. Well, they show the divorce record. They show the record of the divorce. They show the paperwork filed in court of the divorce. I mean, that ain't hard. You know what I mean? So there's Ty Hill saying, nah, I don't know if we have the record of the divorce, but regardless, that's sitting by. Boy, no, the heck we didn't, so don't put that in the air. We're happily married and going to stay that way. Well, the Sun Sentinel Dolphins, that right there, they said, and they showed in Broward County, they had filed for divorce. Look, get in close here. Come in here. My grandfather, the great John Wurzba, a noted coxman, he told me, and the great Uwe Blopp one day, we're hanging out having a beer at the PNA Silver Bells on Broadway, and he's running the joint. My grandfather, John Wurzba, a great man, did so many great things. He was the head of the draft in Northwest Indiana. He was the guy, I've told this story before, used to let the Jackson 5 practice at his place. He had terrible things happen to him in robberies, things like that. But my grandfather was a tough-ass dude. And my grandfather, one evening, the great Uwe Blopp, came to visit me in Maryville, Indiana. And I gave Uwe our little bar tour, which did not include clubs. It included places like the PNA Silver Bells, Milan's where you had to buzz in. Marty had to look at you, let you in because of robberies. My grandfather, while giving us a shot in a beer, a Seagram's, I believe, or maybe it was a Canadian Mist, I don't know, looked at me and Uwe, and he goes, boys, keep your pecker in your pants. I remember looking to my left at Uwe. Uwe, who is straight from Germany, almost spit out the drink for 2 reasons. One, he didn't like the whiskey. 2, my grandfather's statement. He looked at he goes, you know, that's good advice. Tyreek Hill, keep the pecker in the pants. I mean, I go back to this. How am I going to equate this to Dick Vermeil's speech to Indiana's basketball team? You guys know, if you paid attention, Dick Vermeil told us, don't complicate winning. Don't complicate your life. Don't be a farm animal. I look outside, I got deer. Sometimes the deer are banging. They're humping. Don't be a farm animal that just goes out and throws his thing in stuff. And then all of a sudden you got to answer for divorce and other things. I'm not telling you how to live. I'm just telling you how human beings live. Jeez. I mean, let me ask you a question. How do you win with I know he's talented, and I know, but how do you win with all this? How do you win? Do the 4 teams left have any of this going on? I don't know. But I'm an NFL fan. I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm a Tyreek Hill fan. I'm a whatever fan. I got to ask myself a question. How the hell do I win with this? Man, you don't understand. No, I do understand. You don't understand. We like giving. We love giving players a pass. Man, you don't understand. No. Keep your pecker in your pants. It's good words to live by. It's good words. Solid. All right. You know what I smell? I smell something fishy. I do. I smell something fishy. What do I smell fishy? Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, all of a sudden, it was, I forget which Nick said it yesterday during our post-show 5 o'clock meeting, but one of them said, you know what? When they announced that they were getting rid of Adrian Griffin in Philadelphia, it was almost simultaneously, and it could have been in the same release, they were hiring Doc Rivers. That, ladies and gentlemen, is good GMing. That is how you're supposed to run a search. I don't know whether or not the NBA has Rooney rules where you got to actually interview a white dude. Seems like that's what you should have to do in the NBA. Hey, look, the Rooney rule in the NFL, you got to interview a couple black guys, people of color. NBA, you got to interview a white dude. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, that's good GMing. Why is that good GMing? Because I got a top drawer right here. Right here. Right here is a top drawer. Now, there's a lot of crap in this top drawer. I would win a, let's make a deal. I got a dollar bill in the top drawer. I got some Ethernet services in the top drawer. But I got a top drawer. And if I'm a head coach, which I was for 10 years, I had a list of guys that I would hire as assistants. If I was the general manager of an NBA team, I would have a list in order on a piece of paper. People that I would hire in order when this thing goes south, if this thing goes south. If I'm Aaron or I'm Gary, I got a list in the top drawer. Who would replace Dakich? Like, Charlie, they're irreplaceable. Dakich, anyway, that's what you do. That's good GMing. You don't sit around and say, well, we're going to hire a search firm from the middle of Montana because the guy running the search firm is going to get us in a bowl game. No, we're not doing any of that. I need a head coach because I don't like the head coach. And again, wait for it. You'll never hear this anywhere else. That's why this is the greatest show on TV, streaming, whatever. Here's the deal. This didn't just happen the day they fired him. This started happening the day Terry Stotts quit back in training camp. Terry Stotts, very respected coach, was Damian Lillard's head coach with Portland, brought in. He looked at the situation. He said, I'm out. I'm out. Now, this wasn't a guy that was brought in as a 10th assistant to sit behind the bench. This was a guy that was brought in to be a full-time assistant, to coach a team that potentially is going to win an NBA title with maybe the greatest player in the game right now, the Greek Freak. And he says, I'm out. I'm gone. Adios. Sayonara. La noche. Hasta la vista, baby, or whatever else that I can say. That is when I go to my top drawer and I start figuring out who's available, who might be available. Now, Doc Rivers is the cure-all hire. And it was actually a bit surprising to see there was a little bit of negativity about Doc Rivers being hired. See, Doc Rivers is the guy that gets hired for the best jobs. He's the guy that is going to stay out of the way. He covers all the bases, former NBA player, by every account, a great dude. But Doc Rivers, ladies and gentlemen, has screwed up more teams than he has helped. Now, what does screwed up mean? Losing the first round when you had more talent. That's basically what I would say. Because the fact of the matter is, in the NBA, talent wins out, 7-game series. We're going to eventually, water going to find its level. So 43 games in, 30-13, Doc Rivers takes over. And here's the thing. The general manager of Milwaukee doesn't give a reason why they fired Adrian Griffin. Somebody asked him about this. Somebody said, well, is it a decline in the metrics, the analytics of defense that convinced them they can't win a championship? Geez, I don't know. But he did say this, Horst, who is the GM. Listen to this. This is not about players' comments. This is not about things said or unsaid. This is my job. This is the organization's job at the top to evaluate every single day all areas of the organization and feel like whether we're getting or not getting the most out of that group. If we feel like we can maximize the talent of this group better, we make a change, and that's why we made it. Look, I'm not going to lie. Nobody's a victim in this. Adrian Griffin probably won't be a head coach again, but he's going to get paid every dime. that he ever was promised. That's the way NBA contracts work. He's going to make millions to walk away. And isn't that the dream? Isn't that the goal of every American worker, to get paid for not working? I don't know. So Doc Rivers had a loaded Clippers team, had a loaded Sixers team, and failed to get out of the first round or second round. Sixers fired Rivers after 3 straight second-round exit, and now he's the guy to lead the team. He's the perfect guy. Company man, smart, respected, all those things. He walks in, you're like, hey, that's Doc Rivers. What does ESPN do now? Do they leave it to, I guarantee you, they leave it to Doris Burke. Doris Burke's fine. I mean, they got rid of Mark Jackson. They got rid of Van Gundy, Jeff Van Gundy. For what? For Doris Burke and Doc Rivers. So last night, they thanked Doc Rivers for their service at ESPN, and I thought that was pretty funny. I think everything's funny. But, hey, that's good GMing. Whenever you hear, like, I don't know what Michigan's doing. Here's the deal. College is different. You got to post a job for 7 days. You got to post it. So maybe they have told Sharon Moore, look, we're going to hire you. But in college, you got to post. The NBA, hey, look, I'm the owner. Doc Rivers, you're out. Dakich, you're in. Nick, you're out. Dakich, you're in. You know what I mean? I mean, what the hell? You can do whatever you want. And I'm down with it. That's good GMing. Whether you like the hire or not, whether you think Adrian Griffin got screwed, your job in professional sports is to win, period. Hell, in Indiana, we're on a 10-year plan with the guy with the Colts. That's not the same. That's not the same evaluation process as what you're seeing or what you saw with the Bucs. There's a different level of expectation, and I applaud big-time expectations. You know, a couple things happened yesterday. Couple things that are interesting to me. Both of them involve former athletes. Do you remember Nick Stauskas, who was a really good player at Michigan? This is when you got a problem. See, I'm a huge Indiana basketball fan. Where is it? Right there. I don't go to games. I don't want to be the old guy hanging around the golf tournament. But I like them enough to criticize them. And so, of course, Indiana fringe fans hate me. Indiana fringe fans, oh, you suck, Dakich, you're the worst, blah, 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 blah. All right, I suck, I'm the worst. Okay. But you have a certain pride in your program. You have a pride. Like, look, a lot of us, not me, but a lot of guys helped add to the tradition of Indiana, or in Stauskas' case, into Michigan. Stauskas, who I like, he and Andrew played together. He became a really big deal in his own mind and all this kind of stuff, and I didn't blame him. That was cool. But Stauskas had this to say about Michigan. He did not hold back. These kids have no respect or understanding of what it means to put on that Michigan uniform. Haven't left any kind of passion or love for the game haven't felt any kind of passion or love for the game from Michigan basketball in years. Good for him. Good. He loves the program enough to call it out. Good. It's exactly how I feel about Indiana. Exactly. I see Indiana, guys would never wear headbands in the NCAA tournament because they want to enhance their brand when they hadn't worn a headband all year. That's not a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to a lot of guys. A lot of guys. Here's Howard's record. Juwan Howard with Beeline Guys won the Big Ten, went to the Elite Eight, won National Coach of the Year 2021. Since then, he's 44-43. Last night had the biggest Michigan loss since 2006. During the same time, he struck a coach, was restrained to avoid fighting another, in an altercation with his own staff. Okay, let me explain that to you. The record is what really matters here. The last part is some weasel. During the same period, he struck a coach, restrained to fight another, and had an altercation with his own staff. That's what I've always told you about the list. Remember I tell you about the list? It's the list. When you don't have the record that the folks want you to have, what comes next? The list. The vaunted, the dreaded, the list. He struck a coach. He had to be restrained from another. He had to be restrained from fighting his own staff, John Sanderson. He had all those things. The list, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody really cares about the list unless your record isn't good enough. And fact of the matter is, Howard won. He did. He won with Beilein's guys. Not only Beilein's guys, and this is something people do not understand. He won with Beilein's culture. My son played in Beilein's culture. Beilein had a great culture. Beilein's culture was one of teaching, one of improvement, one of team basketball, and he had offensive and defensive sets that were smarter, particularly on the offensive side, than anywhere else. So this guy wins with a few. And this guy then, when he coaches his own crew, it ain't as easy. It's not. It's very hard. Very, very hard. So at the end of the day, what you do with your own guys matters. And when former players start coming out of the woodwork, former players at Indiana, I had 4 of them hit me up yesterday. I think I talked about it, and I'm like, look, you want to come on my show? We'll talk good about Indiana. We'll talk bad about Indiana. We'll just talk as Indiana players. Guy said, well, if there's anything good to talk about, I'll be shocked. We love the school. Greg McElroy, the national champion quarterback for Alabama, keeps hearing from fans that he hates Alabama. He addressed it yesterday. He said, hey, you clowns, nothing can be farther from the truth. Greg's become one of the main guys on ESPN. I'm just telling you, when you are an announcer, you don't hate your school. But when you are when you are just an announcer, you don't hate, you don't love. You just go. When you're an announcer that has a great pride, and whether it's I don't have great pride in the fact that I averaged 3 or 4 points a game at Indiana, or that we beat Michael Jordan. I don't have pride in that. I have pride in the hard work it took to get me to play at Indiana after almost dying at birth, having a bone disease that I had to sit out a year of high school, didn't know if I could run again, much less play basketball again, and ended up, I couldn't touch the rim, but somehow ended up 2-time captain at Indiana, and I got great pride in the program. People don't understand that. When you have great pride in a program, you feel compelled to criticize it. So good for Stauskas. And good for all you former Indiana players. Brian Evans went on a show and just ripped ass. Good for him.